Welcome to the Extended Gamut, Episode 3. I'm Jeff.
I'm Andy.
And we are excited for this third episode.
Yeah, third time's the charm.
This is a space for you to get answers to your print-related questions. Topics are sourced directly from you, our listeners, so be sure to submit topics at itsupplies.com/questions. / you say? Yes, / This and more on today's episode.
Yeah, we will dive deep into forward and backslash. But then we're also going to cover some questions. So we're going to talk about borderless printing, DTG print area, metal prints, and which printers you can use to get the very best quality. So that's on the docket today.
All right.
Stay tuned.
Okay, here we go. Before we dive into print-related questions, a couple things that happened after the first couple episodes. I got a lot of comments on your mug. You have a mug. I don't have a mug. Why does Andy have a mug?
So did you get a mug?
I got a mug.
I like that.
This is a large mug. This is actually, it could be called a jug. On top, I have 4 cups in case you get thirsty.
We call this a Millville shot glass.
Yeah. And this can hold liters of water. Would you like something?
Yeah.
Let's see here.
I did not know you were going to do this.
No, this is... That way, if anyone does watch this episode, they'll know that I heard them, and I'm not going to let...
You're not going to be pushed around by big thermos.
No, I'm not. But I can't, there's nowhere on the table to put it without blocking my entire body. That's how big it is if you're listening to this podcast. So I'm going to set my jug down.
Now we can get started.
And I'll put my cups down. And now we can really get started.
Let's do it.
With an important topic. / versus backslash. The other comments I got was, hey, you said it's itsupplies.com /questions. And I was told no less than 3 times. It's not backslash, it's /. And I had to do some research to figure out what is a backslash, what is a /, what makes it a / versus a backslash. And I learned more about the slash than I could ever have wanted. So, fun tidbit. Besides file path, the / also consist of website addresses. / is also used as dividing in many programming languages such as Python. So the / is where the top of the slash is pointing forward. The backslash is only used for computer coding for like file names in DOS and Windows. And it's where it's facing the other way. You're looking like...
I don't think it matters. Like, everyone only clicks the one that's right there. It's the only one we ever use, whatever it's called. They'll find, and if you get to our website and
this is
like 404.
This is my biggest learning, which is really cool, and why it doesn't matter. Did you know web browsers like Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Internet Explorer, Mozilla, Firefox, if you type it with a backslash instead of a /, they automatically correct it. So if people listened to me and went to itsupplies.com /questions, they still would get to the correct location.
There you go.
So those are my learnings.
Good. I think that's...
But if you're listening still...
Very few.
Very few. Let's talk about printing.
Yes, let's do it.
All right. Question 1. Borderless printing.
Yep.
I thought it was a good question.
Yeah.
Why don't you go through like what the question was and...
Yeah. So the question's, how come some printers print borderless and some do not? What makes it possible or not possible? And why wouldn't every printer just have this option? So borderless printing, that's the ability to print edge to edge. So printing right up to the edge of the paper on either side. And you would want to be able to do this for like finished posters or, photographs, that kind of thing. It eliminates some trimming that you would have to do ordinarily. It allows you to use the full width of the printer potentially. So that's why people would want to be able to do it.
Yeah, I think for most people I talk to, I don't have to do anything else after I print it. It's now a finished product.
Yeah, so not every printer that we sell allows you to do borderless printing.
I thought I'll throw out some technologies, and we'll do like a rapid fire. I grouped them into some categories.
Okay.
So you have like on the signage side of things, latex, solvent, resin, like those technologies. What would be your overview on borderless for them?
Yeah. So I guess you're going to throw out some. Okay. Before you throw out all those names, I would say you can print borderless on just about any printer with some extra work and masking tape. So you can make it so that you don't print onto the edge of your printer. You can do it in a one-off way. It's not going to be supported by the manufacturer, but you could probably pull it off on just about every printer that we sell. So as we go through it, if you have a printer and we say, no, you can't print borderless, well, you might be able to do it if you want to get creative.
Like you would have a 44-inch piece of paper on your printer, but you would tell it it's a 46-inch.
You'd create a custom roll. You'd print through the rip and give it the custom width, and then say no margins and print.
So a little bit you could hack.
Yeah.
Your way through it.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be like a production workflow that you'd want to use.
Okay. So latex, S series. I know that the S series does not support standard borderless printing.
Yep.
But the latex has an option.
Yeah, the latex has the ink collector trough, which is more for like porous medias that the ink would come through, but it can also collect on the edges where you would print over the side. It's not actually totally supported by HP, but it works pretty well. It's not every media is going to be ideal for it because you're not able to use the edge guards because you want to print right up to the edges. So if the media tends to curl, you could get head strikes. But for a lot of medias that lay flat, you could print borderless.
Okay. So really, neither manufacturer is saying, "Hey, print borderless posters or pictures or things."
Right.
Okay. So in what world? I guess it would be the aqueous, water-based.
That's where you see this advertised as like this is a feature.
Okay.
So like Epson. So if you look at Epson's website, so for the P9570, their 44-inch printer, they've put borderless pads, ink collector pads that are consumable that you would swap out. So it's like I don't know if it's cotton or what, but it's something absorbent. Yeah. Something absorbent that you can swap those out so it all feeds down into a collector tank, but those pads themselves kind of help keep it from...
And they're made from Bounty paper towels?
Yeah, I don't know the brand. It's probably third party.
Okay.
Charmin. Tissue.
Do they sell paper towels?
I don't know.
Okay.
So anyways, these are the different supported widths that you could print. So if you had papers that were 10-inch, 11.8-inch, 13-inch, 16-inch, 17-inch, 20-inch, 20.3-inch, 23.4-inch, 24-inch, 28.7-inch, 33.1-inch, 36-inch, 40.6-inch, or 44-inch. So they've put pads all throughout the platen of this printer so that if you put a roll of paper on that's one of these widths, you can print right up to the edge, and it's not going to go all over your platen, the ink. It's going to sit on the paper. So if you wanted to be able to print borderless, and you had a specific size that you want to be able to print, you could go on these manufacturers' websites and look and see which sizes are supported.
Okay. So the Epson does it.
Canon will also do it. HP will do it. HP has vertical trimmers in one of their printers, the Z9.
The Z9, yeah.
So Z9 Plus. So you could do it that way too. That's another way to have a finished print.
Print it and it will cut it vertically, and then you eliminate that finishing step. So
Right.
then you didn't need it to essentially print
Right.
borderless because you have a borderless print
Yep.
when you're done.
Yeah. So that's the reason we steer people towards a lot of people towards the EPSON Aqueous for posters. It's super high quality. It's really fast, and you can have a finished print without any trimming, and be done with it.
Okay. Well, I guess the goal of the podcast is to go deeper on topics, and you've definitely helped us go deeper on that with your
Eighths of an inch.
many, many widths that are allowed. So thank you. On to the
You're welcome.
Thank you. No, I'm very appreciative.
All right.
Let's go. Number 2.
Print area on the F2100 DTG. So how big of a print area? What's the maximum printable area on an F2100 DTG?
Yeah. I saw that question, and it is 16 by 20. So 16 wide, 20 tall.
Yep.
And that's really the max platen size. And the platen is what you would put the t-shirt on. Obviously, you can go smaller platens, print on different things. But the max is 16 by 20. Did some research, and after doing that, grabbed an extra large. This is a Bella Canvas shirt, but I mean, it could be any shirt. And printed a 16 by 20. You can probably see it here. If you're listening, you can't see it, but I've outlined in yellow tape what 16 by 20 looks on a extra large t-shirt.
Yeah.
It covers the whole thing, except for maybe the bottom 4 inches. But it goes right up to the neck, and it goes out to where the sleeves, are stitched together. Mm-hmm. So it's not, obviously a t-shirt printer is not going to be used for all over print. That's where you'd use probably a dye sublimation printer. But 16 by 20 can really print a huge print on a printer.
Yeah.
And that's on an XL. Then you go down to large, medium, small, and you're...
Yeah, most people, the standard size, the platen that Epson ships with the printer is a 14 by 16. And that's a pretty standard. That's going to cover most of what you want to do from a graphic perspective on the front of a T-shirt. So, but the largest you would buy this platen additionally is a 16 by 20.
Okay. Question 3. Someone was asking, they're trying to compare quality and say I'm doing metal prints. And can you tell me the difference between the EPSON F170 and the EPSON F6370? So traditionally people would use this 44-inch wide EPSON F6370 for metal prints, and now when there's a $400 F170 and I want to do smaller metal prints, 8x10s, could I do it, and is there a quality difference?
Yeah. Yeah, so it uses a different print head. So the F170 uses a different print head than the F6370, the 44-inch printer. The F6370, the resolution is 1440 by 720, and the F170, the resolution is 1200 by 600. And so that doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, it's got more high numbers in the F6370, so it's going to be better print quality. It's just that it's a different head. I think like the answer to this question is that we've gotten much better results on the F6370. And I don't know if it's as much because the printer is that much better or just because of the tools that we have at our disposal. So with the F170, you're printing through the driver. You're not using a rip. And that's where we really get a lot of the quality improvements. So when we're working with one of these large labs to do metal prints and try and get their print as sharp and as quality and as neutral as possible, then we're looking at the rip software from usually Caldera. Wasatch or Ergosoft are the two that we like. Their screening is best for the dot placement on Epson dye sub. So if you're trying to print from the 170 and you don't have a rip software, you're trying to match quality with your hands tied behind your back. You don't have the same tools at your disposal as you would with the F6370. So if you're trying to get the very best print quality, then we would say use the F6370 or even the F7200 if you need a 64-inch. If you already have an F170 and you're just trying to get, I have this printer, how do I use it? You might want to look at, different workflow things to not be printing directly from the driver.
We did a video about some settings in Photoshop and
Yeah.
different things like that. But the question was, can I use them both, put them side by side? Is someone going to tell a difference?
Yeah. Yeah, the answer is yes. We haven't been able to make prints look as good on the F170 as they do on the F6370.
Yeah. Okay. All right, fourth question. Can a T-shirt press be used for dry mounting prints and photos? So you have a T-shirt press that you would use to finish, a T-shirt,
Yep.
lock the ink in so that it's dry.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have, in a different world of printing, dry mounting.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you explain what that is? And
So mounting of photo paper or canvas or some substrate. So either mounting to a foam board or some kind of a rigid mat board, something like that, or mounting a clear adhesive over the top of a print. So it's more in the photography framing world that you would have this dry mount, either from Dry Tack or D&K or one of those brands.
yeah. So we thought about this question and we were like, all right, let's answer the question, but let's also answer the inverse. So I'll take the first part, you take the inverse. So the question originally was, can I use my T-shirt press to then dry mount prints and photos? And this will be the first time we quote someone on the podcast. So to quote, I talked to Aaron Knight at GeoKnight. They make a brand of heat presses used for this. He says, yes, it is done all the time on our presses. They are generally considered overkill for that application since they are capable of much higher temperatures than the dry mounting requires. They're also capable of much higher pressures than dry mounting would require. He states, and I quote, it's an easy slam dunk application for our presses because the GeoKnight presses provide much more than is needed for the photo mounting. So those presses get hotter, can apply more pressure. So yes, you can use that. There is one thing I would say, and there's clamshell and there's swing away, and depending on the angle you're using, you'll just want to tweak some settings if you are going to actually do this. But can it handle it? Absolutely. Is it overkill? I would say it probably is too.
Yeah. Yeah, so then the inverse would be I have a dry mounting press, and now I want to start doing
T-shirts?
No, metal or something like that. Yeah, that's where the crossover usually happens, where it's a framer who already has a dry mount press from Dry Tack or D&K, and they see this metal application and they want to be able to do sublimation to metal. And it doesn't really go the other direction because you can't apply enough pressure or enough consistent heat. Even if you get it to 400 degrees, it's not consistent enough across the whole bed to be able to transfer to a metal without seeing cloudiness, and it's just not a quality print. So it's a bummer if you have a frame shop and you're thinking, well, maybe I can start making some metal prints. Well, you're going to need another heat press.
Yeah. Okay. All right, fifth question. Fifth and final question for today's episode. What is the proper platen height for shoes on the F2100? So that's another T-shirt related question.
Yep. And we did that video quite a while ago, and it was one of our most popular that people really like. And it's being able to print to those Converse shoes with the DTG printer, which is a cool application. And so I think we specifically used platen height 5, but I wanted to talk about like the process for how you can determine what the right platen height is without having to ask someone else, like so that teach a man to fish.
Yeah.
So once you load something onto the F2100, you have the dial on the bottom where you can raise and lower the platen. And what's frustrating sometimes is you're trying to find the right height for your shirt, and you keep going to sending it to print, and it spits it back out at you and says, error, it's too tall, and we can't print on it. There's another button up on the control panel that has an arrow going in and out, and it's the platen in and out button.
Yeah.
So you can load whatever it is that you want to print. You can press that in and out button, and without triggering it to print, the printer's going to tell you whether it'll take that into the bed of the print zone or not. So you could load your shoes on there, get them as flat as you can, put it to what you think is the right setting in terms of height.
Button.
Push that button, see if it'll come in or not. That lets you. The goal is to have you want the platen to be as high as possible. You want a very narrow gap where your print head is right up against the surface of the media.
That's for quality purpose.
For quality, because if you're dropping ink, you want to be dropping it from.
But not too high that the print head would hit the.
Right. And so this would let you get to that sweet spot, one notch at a time, but not having to send it through the whole print process, just using the platen input and output button.
Okay.
So I would mess around with that if you're doing shoes or whatever you're doing to make sure you're getting the best print quality with the right platen height.
All right. Well, there we have it. 5 questions. Borderless printing, print area, quality on die-sub printers, F170 and 63, using a t-shirt press for dry mounting, and platen height for shoes.
And way too much time on backslashes.
Well, don't forget to submit your questions at www.itsupplies.com/or/questions.
The question 4, that was our first question that came through the website. Yeah, about the dry mount press.
There you go.
Yeah. Shout out to Anonymous who submitted that question.
All right, thanks for listening or watching. You can find us on all your usual podcast platforms as well as YouTube. Don't forget, you decide the topics. You have the power. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. We'll see ya.